Good morning, everyone. We are going to be focusing on Bunads today for our third and fourth grade cultural event this year. And so I am going to share my screen and we are going to take a look at the Bunad show. And Bunads are a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful part of Norwegian heritage and culture. So what are Bunads? The word Bunad means clothes in Norwegian, and each Bunad has its own history, story, and region that it represents. All in all, there's probably well over 200 different Bunads in Norway, and even more to add to that total are the different variations of each one. Many regions have a Bunad style for when girls and boys are younger, and then when they're older or become adults. Some have different Bunads for when they're married. So those over 200 Bunads can multiply in quite a hurry. They're usually made of wool. Some will have embroidery work on them. Some will have other types of fabrics that are part of it. Some will have hardanger or the white aprons. If you watch the hardanger video that Susan Sundy did, sometimes we'll find hardanger is on the different Bunads for part of the fabric. They're often worn for special occasions like baptisms, confirmations, weddings, funerals, and sitnamai. Sometimes when we think of an idyllic version of Norway that everyone's wearing bunads every day, that certainly isn't the case. So when do you get a bunad? Traditionally, you get one at confirmation. And so in this picture, this is a picture of the royal family. So when one of the princesses was confirmed, she's sitting in the middle in the front. That's her grandfather, the King of Norway, on her left, King Harald. And so with the girls' bunads, typically you make them so the inseam has like a 2 to 4 inch inseam, because the girls are getting them when they're 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, whenever they're confirmed. And as they get older and they continue to grow, or maybe they've had children and they're bigger, or they gain weight or something, then they're able to let that inseam out and the bunad will still fit. Bunads are very, very expensive. They will range anywhere, depending on the style and the region that it's from $1,500 up to $20,000 for the bunad and all the accessories and jewelry and solia and shoes and hats and all the things that might go with it. Typically, you have one bunad. If you get it at confirmation, you keep it the rest of your life. You may get ones that family members pass down, or that's more the traditional way to change bunads. Now, of course, you can buy them on eBay or Facebook auctions and other places. Sometimes we have families in our area who will contact me through Sons of Norway and will say, I have my grandma's bunad and it doesn't fit anyone, or I already have mine, and do you know somebody who might want it? So these days we get them different ways. There's lots and lots of different styles of bunad. So as you can see in these pictures, both for the men and the women, some of the regions, the men have jackets. You'll see the beautiful embroidery work of the two on the left and in the middle. And then on the right, that the girl is wearing the hardanger bunad. And so that bunad actually changes a little bit too as the girl gets older, with the belt and some parts of the bodice of the embroidery work and so forth. But that is a beautiful bunad. Here's some more past kings and queens. You'll see they come in a wide variety of colors. And sometimes if the king and queen in Stoughton, once they're selected, if they don't have bunads, they have to have one made. And if they aren't Norwegian or aren't really sure the area that they're from, they may pick a style that's really nice. It's always nice if your family is from an area where the bunads look nice, because some are probably not as nice looking as others. So I'm really happy my grandpa was from an area that has a beautiful bunad. The bunad in the middle is the Stoughton bunad. And so that was designed a number of years ago. It comes in a couple different colors, and then again, wide variety of Bunad styles. So here is the Bunad, the Stoughton Bunad on the left in a green color. So that's kind of cool to see. So you can see there is, again, a wide variety of the different styles and so forth. The Bunad that John and I have, they're not from the same area. Some of John's family is from the Valdres area, and so he has the Valdres Bunad. The men's Valdres Bunad is known for its checkered vest, and there's some variations of that. You can see he's wearing a type of knickers, and then you have the strings that are hanging by his socks. And I can't remember the exact name of those, but not all the men have knickers. Some have full pants and that go all the way down to the floor. My Bunad is from Bergen. And so my grandpa came from an island outside of Bergen. So mine has a history. John and I were married in our Bunads. So John's was made by Marion Kiba, who was a longtime Stoughton seamstress and made a lot of Bunads and taught a lot of classes and helped a lot of people get theirs. When I was 21, I worked on a farm in Norway. And so when I was there, my grandpa, who had immigrated to the United States when he was 17, wanted somebody here to have a bunad. So he had sisters yet in Norway, and he asked one of them to take me down to one of the stores to buy the fabric. And then I had a cousin who lived on the island, and she was going to be a nurse. So she was taking the ferry every day because there wasn't a bridge to the island to go to school. And so she said, I sit on the ferry for an hour to school and an hour back. She said, I'll do the embroidery work for you. So once she had the embroidery work done, then her father brought it over when he was visiting my grandpa. And we had a lady in Madison who was from Norway, who was, she was a seamstress at a furrier here in Madison. And then she put the bunad together. So I've had my bunad since I was 23 years old. And so so mine, good thing those inseams can go in and out because I've had it go in and out a few times. So, but my very first bunad I got when I was 12, and I was in Norway for Sitnamai with my grandpa and grandma. We were visiting my great grandma who lived on the island. And so I had bought this child's, it's a fest or a working bunad. And then my daughter, Sigrid, was princess when she was in 3rd grade, and she fit into that dress. So that's kind of a cool thing. And that's the neat thing about the Bunads is there's usually lots of family traditions and so forth that go with that. Our current Bunads were worn again for our wedding. And the difference with the wedding, if you're wearing Bunads, is that the bride wears a crown, because if everyone has Bunads on at the wedding, it's hard to tell who the bride is because you're not wearing that white dress. And so I rented my crown from a store in Mount Horeb that has crowns that you can rent. Some families have a crown that, if the bunad is a tradition for weddings in their family, will get passed along from generation to generation. So here's an example of a wedding party. This was our wedding party. My friend Kaya, who is from Norway, I met her when I worked on the farm. She's from the Hardanger region, so she has the Hardanger bunad. I'm wearing the Bergen Bunad. I'm in the blue, and John has his Valdres one, and then his brother Mark was in our wedding, and so he wears what the Stoughton dancer guys wear, which is the red vest and then the short pants, and we call that a working bunad. It's not tied to an area. It's one that it isn't quite as fancy as the other ones, but it certainly is festive looking. The nice part about bunads, and especially if you wear them for your wedding, is that you can just keep wearing them. So back on the left-hand side is a picture of us back in 1987, and then the picture on the right is when we were sitting in my King and Queen in 2013. So John's bunad fits the same as it did back in 1987, but mine, again, has been changed a little bit over the years, so that as I kind of got bigger and smaller, it would still fit. So the jewelry that goes with bunads is called solja. And so there's a little bit of history with solja. Each bunad has solja that is usually tied to that area. Not every bunad has its own solja, but many of them do. The item on the left is a pin I got for confirmation. As I mentioned, my grandpa came from Norway when he was 17. And so all my great aunts and uncles were over there. One of my godparents, my godmothers, lived in Norway. And so this was a Solia pin that I got for confirmation. And then the one on the right is once I had my Bunad made, my relatives in Norway thought I should have the Solia to go with it. So they helped me acquire a number of the pieces for mine. And in Bergen, it rains a lot. So you can see on my Bunad, Soya, that there's little umbrellas. So at the top of the pictures and so forth, you can see there's a little umbrella shaped, and you'll see it a little bit better in this next picture. On the right-hand side, the item on the left is one of my earrings, and my Soya comes in two colors. It comes in a white version and it comes in a silver, but you can see those umbrellas. So the item on the right is a cufflink, the one on the left is an earring, and then that's that big pin again. So it's a way that you acquire the different pieces of soya. Some people will go and buy them, or again, some will buy them from a local store or just a generic type of soya. The neat thing about soya, though, is you kind of wear what you have. And so with mine, I always wear my confirmation pin on the top, and then I put that big pin on the bottom. And so anyway, so the other part are the belts, the hats, and the Bunad rules. So they Husfleden is kind of the head of Bunads in Norway. So we kind of call them the Bunad cops. So there are lots and lots of rules related to Bunads, and a number of rules related to belts and hats. And so you can see I'm wearing a silver belt, and my purse has a clasp on the belt. But the Bergen Bunad, you don't wear the belt until you get married. And so for the years that I had my Bunad for a couple of years before we got married, and I didn't wear a belt, I didn't have one. But then when we got married, that was the gift my grandfather gave me, was the wedding belt. So then I have some pictures of some other types of belts and so forth that people have, and different types of hats and crowns that they may wear. You can see quite a variation in those three girls. The hats are pretty much the same, but the belts are, each one is different from another. Many times with some of the belts, like in the Hardanger Bunad, it'll be like a beaded belt until the girl gets married, and then it's a beautiful gold belt. Here you can see some other hats and so forth, some different styles and belts as well. You can see the Bunad on the left has that big white hat. Many times that's worn in some regions by married women. So they get this great big hat when they get married. You can see on the right-hand side, those look like younger girls. So I'm guessing those are the yenta, or the girls' hats when they're younger. And I'm not sure what area that's from. The area in the middle, you'll see those beautiful belts. They're not always made out of gold or silver, but sometimes they're fabric belts that are woven. And take a look at his pants and the leggings down below too. So you noticed in John's and his pants and socks, he had heavy wool socks and so on. And this gentleman has another piece of fabric that fits the bottom part of his leg. And you can see that the girl as well has a type of legging that goes to the floor. So, so there's quite a variety of the different types of hats and belts that you can wear. Also in the types of shoes that people wear. So we find some common styles, and the big picture on the left on the bottom is a very, very common style of Bunad shoe. You'll see the dancers usually wear that style. And so with the upper picture, a lot of times if the dress is shorter, you tend to see those shoes that they're showing them off a little bit. And then I just wanted to show you this picture on the right is a really unique Bunad shoe as well. So how do you clean Bunad? So I didn't know this until we were in Norway, about 10 years ago. My daughter was going to the Norwegian folk school there. And one of the friends that we stayed with said, well, she had just cleaned her Bunad. We were there in the wintertime in like February or March. And I said, so do you take it to a dry cleaner? And she said, dry cleaner? Oh, no. She said, you clean them in the snow. And so she taught me that when you have wool garments like Bunads or Norwegian sweaters or wool rugs and so forth, when the snow is light and fluffy, not heavy and wet, like sometimes we get that really heavy wet snow, it's hard to shovel, but when it's light and fluffy, you take your Bunad out and you lay it in the snow and you cover it with snow and you leave it out there for a number of hours, and that snow naturally cleans the Bunads. And after you bring them back inside, I hang mine up, and I do this with John's as well. I hang them on hangers and I kind of pat all the snow out of them so that they dry, and it really softens them up. So at that time, I had had my bunad for almost 20 years, and I only wear it for special occasions. I hardly ever wear it around food. I never wear it when I'm preparing food, but like if we go to a meal, obviously I'll wear it at a dinner or a banquet or special occasion. But I'm really, really careful about it. So I had never had mine cleaned, and it still was clean, and it didn't smell or anything like that. It's not like we wear it every day, but after I put it out in the snow, it was amazing how soft that it got and how kind of refreshed and so forth that it was. So that's a kind of a little trick that I learned. So when I asked some of my relatives and my friend, this Kaya, I said, so is that how you clean your bunads? Oh yeah, they said, didn't you know that? So sometimes traditions in Norway don't always get passed along and so forth. So anyway, so this is a little way to just to finalize our presentation on Bunads. This is part of the royal family, Prince Haakon and his family, and you can see that in this picture, all of them have different Bunads on, and so within a family, you may not all have the same regions. So I have relatives and friends in Norway who the mom might have her grandmother on her father's side. The husband may have one from their region. The daughter may have a bunad from the mother's mom's side of the family. And again, the younger kids will have usually some type of youth bunad, and at confirmation, they get their kind of fancy, the one they'll keep for the rest of their life kind of bunad. So it's a pretty cool way that we can be doing that. So I hope that this was helpful in helping you learn about bunads. At Sitnamai, make sure you kind of see people who are in them, and don't be afraid to say, and where is your bunad from? Because people love to talk about their bunads and where they're from and how they got them. So my name is Darlene Arneson. I'm president of Sons of Norway, and it's great to have you being a part of our event this year. Thank you.